Hello, everyone. My name is Bergie Q. Jenkins. I'm the founder and CEO of Quintasia Studios, and this is the Quintasia Podcast. Welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking with our guest who I recently just met her, and once, sometimes when you meet people, you're impressed by their energy, you're impressed by their passion, and that was the case. And I said, I would really like to interview you on the podcast. And I asked her, would she, be so gracious enough to come and speak with my audience, and she graciously said yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jennifer Trujillo to our podcast. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be here with you. I really appreciate you doing this.
Oh, no worries. And it's the honor is mine. And thank you so much. And I want to give our audience an opportunity to get to know you and to know about your passion and things. So let's dive right in. Now, when I first met you, you began to talk about the Gilbert Baker Film Festival and how it was that you got involved with this festival. So for those in my audience who may not be familiar with Gilbert Baker, can you please just tell us who Gilbert Baker was, and then talk a little bit about the festival that is now named in his honor?
Sure. Gilbert Baker was the creator of the original Rainbow Pride flag. Back in June of 1978, the first Pride flag was unveiled and flew, and Gilbert is responsible for that. And the film festival came about because Gilbert was born in Chanute, Kansas, but spent his high school years and stuff in Parsons, Kansas. And it was part of his old stomping grounds in Kansas. And people there wanted to honor him later in life for, what he'd done with the flag, and to try to bring pride to Parsons and to Kansas, which, wasn't an easy feat because of, the time of the way the country was at the time, even still. And parts of America still are that way, right? So they wanted to have like a celebration or a party for him. And Gilbert was like, that's silly. Let's do something that's, a better use of the money that will connect community, that will educate, and will be a way to sort of highlight what the LGBTQIA community is without having a parade in the streets. And so the idea of the first film festival came about in 2016, and they were planning it to happen in 2017. Unfortunately, Gilbert Baker died in March of 2017, right before the first film festival happened. But the planning committee reformed, worked on it, and worked very hard to bring the film festival to life. And it's been pretty much going ever since. And I am one of the people keeping it going on in his legacy.
Well, I think that's, terrific. And especially in these days and times, I think it's so important that we have events like these. I am particularly sensitive on this topic because I have not always been, how shall we say, perfect on this issue. When I was growing up, I had a much different view, and but the way I see the world now, and especially through the eyes of a person of color, I know what it's like to not feel wanted in places, and I know what it's like to not feel safe. And why would I ever want to perpetuate that against another human being? That's where I land on this topic. So that's why, when I talk about diversity, I'm talking about across the entire spectrum, not just black, white, not just, straight, but I think every human being on this planet deserves to feel like they belong and that they are loved and that they are appreciated. And that's the energy that I want to put out into the world. And I want to do my part to encourage others to do the same. So that's why I definitely wanted to talk to you today about this. So tell me, how can people participate, and what kind of activities do you have in the festival?
I'm going to say one thing. One, I'm with you and I appreciate you, and I see you and I appreciate your struggle to want people to feel connected. I mean, we're all one human race, right? That's what matters. And who among us, can cast the first stone? We're all flawed. We're all good and bad. And that's the one thing I think that matters. And it goes right back to what you're asking me, like, what about the festival? What's unique about it? Where it is as its juncture is what we're trying to do is connect a global community of people in the 2S LGBTQIA plus community and our allies around the world, so that everyone can feel that community, everybody can feel that connection. Anyone can see themselves on screen or see authentic 2S LGBTQIA plus stories on screen, so that they feel a connection to other humans, to connect that human race and realize that we're all just folks. I mean, I used to work with someone, it took her years. I was one of the first queer people she'd ever met. And it took her a while to be used to me. And then there was another queer human that was also working with. And one day, like, I don't know how far in, 2 years in, to how much she had leaned on us in all these incredibly stressful situations. And she's like, you know what? Y'all are just folks. And yeah, we are all just folks. We're all the human race. And if we can find the items that connect us, that build those bridges and bring us together as the human race. Because we all, like you said, in the end, we all want to be heard, seen, valued, loved, respected. That's what we all want. And the film festival strives to do that. So to that end, we are global, and we hope to continue to be global and worldwide, and try to reach a worldwide audience. We also are virtual in that aspect, so that there is some limitations financially and otherwise with restrictions, unfortunately, with access to the internet. But if you have access to the internet, you have access to the community of the Gilbert Baker Film Festival. We've provided some free social events throughout the year in between festivals and ways for people to come together in community. And then the actual festival. So like this year's festival, the 2022 festival is actually what we're celebrating right now for Pride of 2023. We're streaming worldwide on Eventive. We started in June, early in June, and it's going to run all the way through June and through July, end of July. And we might even stretch a little bit into August, because we're going to highlight our Best in Fest and may extend a little bit at the end and have some watch parties for that. So the way the platform and the festival works is we try to, just like learning styles, everybody has communication styles. Some people want to meet face to face and talk and make eye connection and all that. And some of us want to just type, and write, or be isolated, introvert, extrovert, right? So you can watch at any time all of the films on your own time and just celebrate them on your own and watch them, and then comment online if you want. And then on top of that, we host virtual watch parties. The current festival is separated into 4 categories. We have Under Wraps, Choose You, Beyond Reality, and Raising Awareness. And then those are a collection of short films and a feature film or documentary around a theme centered around sort of what the words are in the theme, raising awareness or under wraps, hidden things. And then we've set aside a Saturday And it's not always Saturday, it's Sunday in parts of the world. But for me, I'm in the Eastern time zone. It's Saturday. So 7 a.m. till noon is our first watch party. And the second one is 7 p.m. till midnight. Split on a 12-hour shift so that hopefully anywhere around the globe has a chance to log into one of the two events, or anyone that works shift work, hospital work, restaurant work could at least pop in. They're open door. It's not officially formal, like, if you miss the beginning, you miss the beginning. You can pop in at any time. And I try to change the needs of the room depending on who's in the room. We get filmmakers, writers, audience, people on the Gilbert Baker team. We all get together, watch what we can of the films or watch the collection and discuss them, celebrate, amplify them, connect with the filmmakers. That's a huge part of what we're trying to do with the festival. It's the same with the human race, right? So I think that everybody's trying to tell their different stories, but it's amazing when you connect with someone who tells a story that resonates with you. Yeah. And then having that connection with that filmmaker, like, wow, this person made a film that speaks to me, and I can literally be in the same space with them, in the same virtual Zoom space or virtual space, and talk to them and ask them questions about the story and the creative process of the film, what else they're working on, and build that connection from the story on screen to the audience, to the filmmaker, to future projects, right? To sort of build that thread of continuity, of connection, of being, I can say it 1,000 times, seen, heard, valued, loved, respected, like across the board, as the creator, as the filmmaker. Many, many, many independent films and queer stories, but all sorts of independent film is a work of many years, blood, sweat, tears, draining all of your money. And many films, they screen it for their family once. Maybe it has 3 showings. Maybe it does 1 festival run, and then, dusted and done and on a shelf. Not all of them ever see the light of day again. Right? They don't all get distribution. They don't always get revisited. And to have a chance to have those stories be celebrated, be amplified, be discussed, be appreciated for the filmmaker is invaluable. And I've also found in some of the rooms, even this year, we have some young, new budding filmmakers connecting with a little more seasoned and experienced filmmakers and getting to talk about how a film resonated with them, but also technically, how was that done? What was the process like for you? On top of the virtual events that we do, the watch parties, we do free socials, which are just connecting social events. And then we also do free filmmaker networking events, which is just connecting the filmmakers, which is another thing that in my mind is a huge part of what the festival's about, because we're stronger together, right? If we work smarter, not harder, hey, I have a great sound guy, I have an editor, oh yeah, you want to do that, but you think you need to buy a drone and do this or that, but what you could do, like old Star Wars, smear a little Vaseline on the end and the hovercraft slides across the screen, right? Movie magic, like you learn all sorts of cool things, and process of writing, all sorts of stuff gets talked about. We often talk about, when's the first time you saw yourself on screen, right? Like, what's the first story that really resonated with you, and what was that like? Are there ways you have been seen on screen, or are there things about you that you've never seen on screen? And that's very, very, even in the queer community, the US LGBTQIA community, there's margins, right? There's margins in the margin. And there are things that people don't see enough. Black or brown is one of them. Disabilities is another one. Deaf community, all sorts of disabilities, visible and invisible, all are invisible and not well represented, as you know, right? Like, you feel that as well, right? Like, we don't have to be the criminal. We don't have to be the drug addict. We don't have to die in the queer community, right? Like, that's back from the old Hays Code, these morality clauses that were put in, queer people could be in stories in books or in film because we were morally corrupt, we had to come to a demise, an ending. So death by suicide, being killed, being put in jail, our moral depravity, which I don't agree with, let's be clear, saying the perception of our perceived morality, depravity, had to be resolved in a negative way in order for ethics and morals to stand the way they should. And in reality, in my mind and many people's minds, and I feel like from what I've heard from talking to you, your heart and mind has changed on this, right? Like that.
Absolutely. And that's why I, decided to do what I'm doing in terms of trying to build this company. And when I started, it's not like I thought about diversity. It's not like I thought about inclusivity. I was just trying to make a story. But as I continued on with it and I started to interact, especially when I was auditioning actors, I mean, even for our little web series, I auditioned well over 300 actors, which was like mind-blowing that many people, because I wasn't paying them at the time. So, right. And it wasn't like I was hiding it. I'm like, I don't believe in that, but that was my first project. And at the time I was unemployed. So I had no other, but I still wanted to do it. So yeah. I was hoping that I would find people that would, I would just be honest with them and, they would still want to do it. And I did. But as I started to get into this, that's when I realized that, there's a mission here for me. There's something that I can do. Yeah. And I think one of the things you touched on, it's amazing how, and I'm definitely now an ally of the LGBTQIA community. And one of the things that just bothers me to no end, and I've had, friends say this, is this perception of immorality. Oh, well, gay people, they're promiscuous, as if, because, there's an implicit assumption of corruption and gayness that goes together. And it's like, first of all, have you seen the members of Congress? And you want to talk about gay people being, immoral and corrupt? I don't think straight people should go there. I think we should just, let's just agree both sides. We have, fair representation on that issue on both sides. That is not a particularly, because I know, some people who are gay and they are very, very much, principled people. And, their committed relationships are just that. They are important to them and they are committed to it. And, they're not trying to, so I hate that perception or that somehow, it's not safe to let your children be around gay people. Excuse me, all of the pedophiles that I know are straight, but, that's a different story. It's stuff like that just, I want human beings to be better. We have to be better at empathy because we don't think about the harm that we cause by, when you suffer these, 1,000 little cuts of microaggression. That's a theme that I've been seeing a lot lately. They add up.
They do.
They add up. And that's what I'm trying to fight against. And sorry, I didn't mean to go on my soapbox.
No, sorry. That was a thank you. Because even in what you said, I felt seen and heard and valued. So, and loved and respected. So thank you. That's no sorry. That is a thank you. I feel you. I'm with you. I hear you. And we're all good and bad. We are all flawed. But that is what also unites us and allows us to rise. We can all be striving to be better. We can all show our good sides. And yeah, the microaggressions you talked about of the depravity and the the presumption of that, even the religious, what is it? Hate the sin, love the sinner, or the presumption that, we are somehow we, the queer community, the LGBTQI plus community is inhabited by malfeasance, by Satan, by ill repute is false. Really. It's false pretty much across the board. Man, I believe humans by our nature, we are flawed. That is the quandary of being a human being on this planet, that we struggle with our foibles and our flaws, and we should work on our own and together to rise above those things and to find the good, to be the good, to look for the good, and to accept and understand the flaws, right? That's without the sour, you can't taste the sweet.
Exactly.
Without the rain, you don't appreciate the sun. Without the rain, we don't have the flowers. I mean, it's
without community, without interaction, there's no chance for understanding if there's no interaction. And
Bring
that, I mean, that to me is, if you interact with communities that you have very little understanding of, you will find out that, yes, there are cultural differences, but at the end of the day, they still want to be loved. They still want to be safe. They still want to have a good life. And that's what we're all striving for. There's no difference there. And to me, I have seen the power of saying a positive, kind word to someone. I think it's no big deal, and I just move on. Years later, I'll see that person and say, do you know when you said that to me, do you know what you did for me? That to me is more powerful than any hateful thing you could ever say to anyone. And I, for one, want to be on that. That's the kind of person I want to be. Now, I'm not that person every day. I'm like everybody else. If you catch me on a bad day, you say, whoa, what's wrong with Greg? But, that's what I strive for. That's the person I want to be.
I would understand and reflect back to you. Maybe it's a day. It's probably a moment in a day, or an hour in a day, or a whole day. But it's only a moment in time. And those, I agree. Those moments of connection, of kindness, like choose love, choose kindness, be the change, which you're doing, right? Like you are choosing to be the change you wish to see in the world. That to me means so much, right? Like I'm honored to have met you. I'm glad to be now walking on this path with you. I'm in. I appreciate it because that is the way that I want to be. And there is somewhat of an echo chamber in that I want people who have a growth mindset, an abundance mindset, a open mind and open heart to a discussion mindset. Those are the things that matter. And even if you approach someone who is hurting, who is angry, if you can approach with kindness or love and that open mind and heart, oftentimes you can crack the veneer, you can melt the ice, and you can make a human connection that makes a difference.
Right.
And, yeah. Community is where it's at for that, for growth and for survival, right? The other thing I think that matters across all communities is, even if you're an introvert, introverts and extroverts, but even introverts need some version of community or connection. Mm-hmm. And in silence and in isolation, sadness, anger, hurt, depression, all festers and grows. And with some level of connection or community. And what that looks like or is defined by everyone is a bit different, but you need the thread of humanity, of connection, in order to flourish. I mean, I think we are a social species by nature, and we need it. And that is how we will thrive, not just survive.
There are, two things I'll add to that. One, I've said it many times before, but they've done studies, of people who have lived, extraordinary long lives. I'm talking like 115 years plus. And they all tended to come from this one village in Japan because the greatest concentration of people who were that old happened to come there. So they wanted to find out what was the controlling factor? Was it that they didn't drink? No, because you had drinkers. How about smoking? Nope, it wasn't even that. Were they overweight? Were they, what was the difference? Nope. What was the difference is if they had loved ones around who they can interact with and take care, and they were there for them when they needed someone to take care of them. If you were a loner, you tended to die earlier. But those people with community were the ones that lasted the long. If you had strong relationships, whether, you were married, unmarried, doesn't matter. But as long as you had either family, friends, some connection, that's what kept you going. That's what kept you living. And it's important for all of us. I think the violence and the hate that you're seeing out there, and if you've been a victim of discrimination and you've had vile things said to you, here's my advice to you. I know it's not easy because some days I get angry too, and I want to lash out. I'm human like everybody else. But what I try to remind myself is that individual more than likely wants you to hate them back. Because you hating them back now justifies their reason for hating you. They feel like, well, I know you already hate me, so I'm just going to go ahead and hate you. And there's something wrong on their side. There's something missing because I guarantee you, if you know people that have loving, sustaining relationships in their lives, they don't do those kind of things because, they're too busy living their life to the fullest to be hateful, to be jealous, to be petty, to be spiteful. That's just not the way you live your life. And I would encourage people, what do you have to lose? You blamed everybody else in the world for everything, but try changing your mindset. And you say, well, people, people are reacting to the karma you're putting out there. That's
right.
What people are acting to. Change that. And I guarantee you how people react to you will change. And that's the message I hope, that I know it's got to be said a million times, but hopefully one day it'll take place because we've got to be reminded. And that's literally one of the missions of my company, to remind people of their better angels.
Remind them of their better ages or angels?
Angels.
Both work.
Gotta get my diction together. Angels.
They're angels within and the angels without. Is that what you mean? Or can you elaborate on that for me?
What I mean by that is we all have, I'm thinking of the very, very popular story about our inner wolf. We have a bad wolf and a good wolf. And which wolf wins depends upon which wolf we feed.
Yeah.
Same concept, better angels. We have, our good angels and our bad angels all within us. We have the capacity to do great good, and we have the capacity to do great evil.
Yeah.
We have to actively choose to do good. And we have that in us to do that. And it's reminding everyone to don't just give in to say that it's, I hate to use fancy French words because one, I'm probably mispronouncing it, but a fait accompli. It's not it's not given, it's not destiny that you turn out to be. If this wasn't a PG show, I would say the word I'd want to say, but I don't want to cause myself more edits. So you're not destined to be a bad person.
Right.
Never fall into that and say, I don't care what you've already done. It doesn't control what you can do in the future. That's every day you make an active choice of who you want to be. And we need to make an active choice to be a good person. That's my message.
Every day, every moment, you have a choice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even if it's, especially when it's hard, right. We have to ask ourselves, this is the time when we can prove to ourselves that we're serious about being a good person.
Right.
And regardless of what anybody else does, we're going to choose to try to do the honorable, the good thing, and be a good human being and be a good fellow citizen on this planet. That's what all the stories in one way or another, there are three themes to the stories that I want to promote.
Okay.
Is diversity, meaning diversity across the spectrum, gender, race, disability, socioeconomic background, everything.
Yeah.
The other is I love stories about people who are eventually accepted by the larger community for being themselves. They didn't conform. The larger community got to know them and love that individual for who they are.
Yeah.
And then finally, as I said, I love stories that remind people of their better angels. When it's time when you have that choice, I could take advantage of this person and I could, do that. Or I'll do the right thing. I'll probably make less money if I do the right thing, but that person will go on. I won't ruin their life and I won't be the cause of the downfall of their life. And more importantly, when I get up in the morning and I look at myself in the mirror, I can be proud of the image I see staring back at me. That's what I want, in my life.
The mirror work is an interesting thing you say. I do active mirror work, right? I am worthy. You are worthy. And working on that. And we are all worthy. We are all worthwhile. We are all worthy. We all have something to contribute and we all yield the power, like you said, of good and bad. I mean, every moment is that choice, right? Our thoughts control our emotions control our actions. And we can, as Viktor Frankl said, learn to identify that gap and that pause in between each of those things and take a moment to realize we have a choice. I'm thinking this, what's the story I'm telling myself about this other person? How does that serve me? How does that serve them? What am I really feeling? And then what action am I going to take based on those feelings? Those are all so many choices in an instant. And to slow that down and to find those gaps and then to relish in those moments, right? The gift of the present moment, like the gift that you and I have here sharing this conversation today, right? Like it's huge. This present moment is a huge, huge gift. And to honor that and hear you, right? And to talk to you and to identify makes a huge difference. A couple things came up to me in what you were saying. Ones were family versus chosen family, right? I don't even know the other one. Blood versus choice. There's family comes in all sorts of shapes, size, colors, looks. And, it is people leaning in and supporting one another and loving one another and connected either through blood or through choice can be family, right? What makes a family? A whole nother thing that people need to learn, and that chosen family is incredibly vital. And then another thing, which is, I want to say it because it just came to me through all you were talking about, was we've both said about the human race. And one pushback that I've heard. I don't know whether you've heard it. Maybe it will resonate with you. Someone very vital to me in my family and in my chosen family has said, you always want your special rights. You're always fighting and yelling about special rights. And I was like, I want equal human rights. And until all of us have equal human rights, the work still needs to be done. We still need to stand up, speak up, stand up, fight back, stand up, fight for others, right? Like that's the thing, right? We are all an equal human race and we all should work to be that way and help, right? Not just ourselves and our chosen family, extended family, and then the world of the human race to have that. Because we're not there. Go ahead.
No. And we'll never get there by ignoring the topic.
Oh.
By burning books. It's like, how can we be a race-blind society if, we keep talking about race? Well, here's my answer to that, Mr. Supreme Court Justice.
Sorry. I'm tickled on this whole thing.
I will feel, I will stop talking about race.
Oh,
I can drive somewhere and be pulled over by a cop and not worry about having been killed.
Absolutely.
I will stop talking about race when I can live in any community, in any neighborhood in this country that I want to live in. When that is true, okay, then, I'll stop talking about it. I will stop talking about race when I can be on any job and truly have the same chance. I'm not saying if I'm a blithering idiot that you should promote me over somebody else. But if being a blithering idiot is not a prohibition to being promoted, then I should have an equal shot of getting there. Don't relegate me to this little corner because you think this is what I should have, and I should have no more. That's not going to be acceptable. And that's what people have to, I don't know. Do you really think that the queer community is going to say, you know what, it's perfectly acceptable that people are spitting at us, yelling at us, jumping on our Zoom calls, showing up at our events when we're having our live drag shows and, harassing us and our audiences? Why would any human being say that that is tolerable or acceptable? If
Right.
you want to have the country unravel, then keep on the course that we're on, because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You can't expect people to accept that kind of treatment.
Yeah.
And that should be very easy for anyone to understand.
Right.
I don't, and I saw this, and I've seen this woman before, and I swear, now this is on the subject of race, but you could substitute gender, you could substitute anything. So she was in front, the person who was speaking was white. She was in front of a 100% white audience. And she asked that audience, okay, raise your hand if you want to be treated the same way that Black people are treated. Absolutely no one raised their hand. So she says, oh, well, you must have misunderstood the instruction. I'll repeat it. Raise your hand if you want to be treated the same way Black people are treated. Again, nobody raised her hand. And then her point was, okay, that proves to me then you are aware that there is a difference.
Yeah.
And why would you think it's okay for someone else to be treated in a way that you don't want to be treated?
Yeah.
I was like, wow. Wow. And that goes across the board. You know, why would you expect, you know, anybody who is different from you to expect that, you know, that they should be accept being treated less than?
Right.
That's never going to work, ever.
No.
And, you know, well, I could say a lot of things, but I don't want to get in trouble. So
It's, yeah, that's a big one, right? I think there's both sides, right? People always say treat people the way you want to be treated. But I also think there is having empathy and listening and understanding and treating all people of the human race the way we deserve to be treated, but also the way they want to be treated. Right. So how you show your affection, how you show your respect, is different from among all people, and, listening and seeking to understand and to find that way to connect and communicate and show respect and love is catamount. Like, I agree. That should be our number one priority. And we are incredibly, fueled. This country and many parts of the world are, very much striving on division and, scarcity mindset and hoarding resources and hoarding respect and the way you treat people, you know, mine versus yours, my tribe versus your tribe. And the tribe of the human race is a huge thing. And even under the other, you're a blithering idiot, maybe an idiot in book smarts or in the knowledge of this job, but I would challenge you that idiot has strengths that you don't know anything about unless you choose to listen and watch and learn and find out what they are. Because I really believe that everybody is good and bad and everybody has strengths and weaknesses. And if we lean in and understand and accept those things about each other, we can choose to work together, smarter, not harder. You know, I'm terrible at, I don't know, figuring out the puzzle and sorting it. That blithering idiot may be amazing at sorting puzzles and untangling all those Christmas lights like you used to have to do and spending hours finding the bulb that works. Right? That's not an idiot. That's, you know, a different skill set, right? We all have that. And yes, in some areas, some of us are smarter than others or better than others, but, yeah, it's that whole, what's it, Animal Farm, right? Which pigs are smarter than the others or more equal.
And my philosophy is no one is here by accident. No one is here by accident.
Yeah.
Everyone has a purpose.
Yeah.
There's no superfluousness in nature. And if something was put here, it was put here for a reason, and it's not up to me to decide that it shouldn't be here. I didn't put it here. I don't have the right to make it go away. So, you know, everyone, and treating everyone like, you know, hey, you're a living being, you know, you're part of this universe. You belong here.
Yeah.
Because you're here, you know.
Yeah.
You exist. So there's no accident in you existing, you know. Now maybe your parents didn't exactly plan it out, but you are here and you are not an accident. And there is truly, even if you're a twin or a triplet or whatever, there is truly only one you. There's no one who is exactly like you. And if the world loses you, we lose your set of talents, your unique combination of talents, and only the things that you could have accomplished, that's what we lose. So every time we lose a young life because we as a society fail to intervene to tell that person, you are not an accident. You belong here. We just lost something.
Yeah.
Every time we fail, we lose something. Maybe that person was going to be the person that cured cancer.
Yeah.
How do you know? You know, or come up with something else that was going to be this mind-boggling invention that was going to change society, you know, for the better. We don't know.
Life of the person who was going to do that in some other weird.
Exactly.
Or drive them to the lab on the exact day that it happened. You know what I mean? We're all.
Everything is connected. Everybody matters. And that's the way we should be interacting with each other, as if we were important, as if, you know, nobody is, you know, you're not more important or less important. Everyone has a role to play, whatever that role is. There are no unimportant roles, you know, and that's, again, I guess, well, I don't know why. I guess if you grew up in under certain circumstances, one of the things that I worry about, although at this juncture, it's a little less likely than it was 20 years ago. If not this part I'm about to say, if I become very wealthy, I'm still hoping that happens. But what I always worried about, though, if I had children, I don't think people appreciate how hard it is to raise children in wealth and still have them come out with their heads screwed on straight. That is not an easy feat. You would think that, oh, but they have no, there's a lot of stuff they can get into now. You know, a lot of us, we can't exercise our deepest, darkest thoughts because we just don't have the resources to do it.
Yeah.
They do. And that can be, if you don't know who you are, you know, if you don't have a sense of purpose, that's what I think. All of this that you're seeing, all of these ridiculous signs of hate and acts of hate that you're seeing, these are people who don't have purpose. And they're lashing out. Unfortunately, they are latching on to other people who don't have purpose.
Yeah.
And that's how they're finding their community, but it's a community in the worst kind of sense, because that community is going to encourage each other's worst instinct. And then it keeps escalating. There's nothing there that's kind of like can stop that catalyst, that interaction. You know, just keeps snowballing. Like you said, it's like if you sit and you think dark thoughts and there's nothing to interrupt that cycle of thoughts, you know, eventually those thoughts are going to lead to actions.
Yeah.
Every time you do something, it's not, well, I did it without thinking about it. No, you literally cannot do anything without thinking. You might not have been aware of what your thought was at the time. That's true. But you thought about something, because in order for you to move your hand, to do any kind of action, your brain has to think it and then, you know, make that happen. Yeah. So there's no like, oh, you were thinking something. You just may not have been aware of your thoughts. And that's what I want to make people aware of, is when they give into all that hate speech and things like that, there's something, there are thoughts before you latched on to whatever person that you're terrorizing. Yeah. There was something already in you. There was some thought process that was already in you that you were not maybe even aware of.
Right.
And now that person is just the unfortunate outlet for that negative thought process that was already happening in you. And recognizing that and saying, I've got to break this cycle, or it's going to lead me down a very dark road from which there is no return. So, well, I know this is a little heavier, folks.
It's heavier and lighter, though, right? I mean, again, without you're showing some of the hiding the darkness, burying the books, burning the books, eliminating history, ignoring the elephant in the room. That whole I don't see color is not the way forward.
Right.
The way forward is seeing it, facing it. Nobody knows what we're thinking and feeling unless we explain what we're thinking and feeling. And nobody is responsible. What can I control? What am I responsible for? My thoughts, my feelings, my reactions. And then from those thoughts and feelings and emotions, my actions and my inaction, right? Mm-hmm. All of that is, as you said, within our control. I mean, I think the only scientific thing is the parasympathetic nervous system, where while we're talking, I'm breathing and circulating and oxygenating and digesting. But I would challenge, as I feel like you would as well, that the brain is doing that. The miracle of the machine, which is amazing, of beings of all of the species and all of the bodies, and human and other animals. Like, we are miraculously amazing machines. And yes, our subconscious and part of our brain is saying, oh, we're digesting, we're breathing, blah, blah, blah. So that I can say, look, I'm going to put out a fist or put out an open hand. I'm going to pull you up or push you down. Those are conscious choices, right? Yes. I agree. My brain, my obsessive brain is, sometimes I have compulsive or obsessive compulsive thoughts, and I keep clinging to, I was lucky enough and fortunate enough to get to go to a summer camp, which was vital in keeping me, making me feel seen, heard, valued, loved, respected on this planet, and feeling part of a community and chosen family. And we celebrated a lot at camp with poetry. And there's an amazing poem, and I don't even know that I know the poet's name by heart, but have you ever, the idea of the poem is drop a pebble in a water. Have you ever heard it? Mm-hmm. Drop a pebble in the water, just a splash and it is gone, but there's 100 ripples circling on and on and on. And really the other part that it goes to is drop an unkind word or careless in a minute you forget, but you're hurting people, versus drop a kindness, and on each splashing, dashing wave, there's a rising hope, right? From that one kind word you gave. Like, the ripple effect is so true.
Yes.
So true. Like, one small moment of connection, of hope, of kindness. Today, I had a moment of that in my life. Just so much going on, going into these marathons. I was talking about the watch parties. They're 7 to noon and noon to midnight. They've actually been going 23 hours with connection of people around the globe in different time zones. It's a big marathon to go into. And someone today just dropped, they saw it, and we're just like, I'm not able to make it, but I appreciate that you do it. And just the fact that it's happening gives me hope and brings me hope. And the time that it took for that person to acknowledge it, to say it, to offer that kindness to seeing, right? I'm not doing all this for that, right? But I'm also doing it in the hope that it makes a difference. And those moments of impact that we have, many of the stories we never hear, right? We drop the pebble and we never know where that ripple's gone. But sometimes we have a moment where somebody says, that kindness you showed me that one day.
And, that's how I feel about these podcasts and why I do it. We don't have tremendous numbers in terms of viewership, but the internet is forever.
Yeah.
I firmly believe one day, whatever individual is meant to see whatever episode that might, give them comfort, spur them on, they're going to find their way to that content. They're going to hear it and they're going to get something out of it. And they're going to go, oh, well, one, I'm not crazy, because there's other people who think the way I think. You know, okay, I thought it was just me. But now there's, and I've always said, if there's one, there can be more than one.
Yeah.
And once you know that, you go, okay, all right. And it's okay if you think a little differently.
Yeah.
Anybody else. That's I'm going to make my living off of that, because Hollywood is telling me, no, no, no. This is the way we make movies, and that if you want to make movies, you will do it this way. And I'm going, hell no. It's not, that doesn't work for me. I know it works for you, but it doesn't at all work for me. So I got to figure out another way to do this. And that's what I'm in the process of doing.
Yeah.
And when I get there,
Yeah.
I'm going to be pulling with me all of these voices who have never had a chance to see themselves on film and television.
Yeah.
And when we get this accomplished, it's going to be an awesome thing.
I agree.
And it will be because we all are going to learn so much. We're going to experience so much, rather than the same routine. If I see another cop or lawyer show, I'm going to just throw up. I'm sorry. It's like, are those the only two professions we have in this world? We call them procedurals. And I am not a fan of procedurals. Sorry for those who are working on one. And there are some good ones out there. I will give it to you, but I just want to see different stories. And I hear them all the time. And I'm going to dedicate myself to being able to do more than just hear it, but I want to be able to greenlight some of those stories.
It's a question I ask often of writers, like, how many stories are there really? Like, some people say when you go to writing classes, there are only so many, right? Oh, you start watching, oh, this is a rom-com. Oh, this is a enemies to lovers. Oh, this is that. Oh, this is a cop show. Like, I want to believe, right? Let's see how I can explain it in a good way, that a lot of people talk about, it's a parallel I've heard from somewhere else and I can't take credit, but like the sun and the light behind it in the sky is filtering through a stained glass window. Mm-hmm. And all of the colors in the window and all of the blending and refracting and reflecting of that light across the things, those become all the different divergent versions of one light source or one story. Everybody, you don't all focus on the blue part of the glass or the center of the flower or the rosette. Seeing the whole thing and parts of it are the beauty of it. And so maybe there are only 13 stories or 10 stories, or even the same. I put this proponent towards religion. Like, people think that, whatever your higher spirit, whatever your God or your good is the light, and filtering it through all the religions of the world. I think the same can be true of storytelling. And until we're nowhere near seeing all the colors in the glass and all the blending of color in the glass and all the perspectives and all the refraction and reflection of light in the room. We're not. We have a pretty small focus on the prism and we're growing that. And the delight, the joy. I mean, even if any one of us takes a pause or a gap just to think of a story that you read on paper or a show that you watch, like a moment of, that could be me. Mm-hmm. I can do that. I could be N. I could do this. Like the hope, the spark, or even the identification of pain in struggle in a story. Wow. I'm not alone. I'm not the only one that went through divorce or abuse or neglect, whatever it is. Those moments are so impactful and so powerful and so much that force of connecting us. Again, back to that being seen, heard, valued, loved, respected connects us as human race. It also connects us to our greatest strengths and our greatest flaws and our ability to rise and fall. Like, so much, so impactful. and helping people to tell those stories, right? And celebrate all the diversity in the stories is vital work. And yes, could you also become a multi-billionaire, bajillionaire if we can figure out the way to make this happen? Yes. And would I be angry? Like, I am not mad at someone for growing and achieving and for doing well. I think the issue becomes then, what do you do with whatever that wealth is, and how much is enough, and what is the mindset? And I am not guiltless or free of that, even in my own mindset, like trying to have the ability to share resources, the ability to share knowledge, the ability to say what's enough. And if I have 10, can I give away 8 and still be okay with 2 of whatever it is, right?
Right.
Dividing whatever the resources are. And yeah, that's a whole thing we all have to look in the mirror and do our own mirror work and decide, am I worthy? Am I worthless? Who's worthy? What wolf am I feeding?
Yeah.
Right.
And hopefully everyone listening to this podcast, you will choose to feed your good wolf. But you have to feed it. If you want, it's not going to you can't just sit back and say, well, I hope I turn out to be a good person. It doesn't work that way. You have to make a choice and then actively live your life in affirmation of that choice. It's not like you wake up and like, "Ooh, I'm a good person." No, it's, you practice it, but it's not hard. It's just, you say kind words, you be that helping hand, you be that friend that's, hey, I noticed you're a little down and things are going on. Is there I want you to know, is there something I can do for you? Is there something, and don't worry about, inconvenience to me. I'm worried about you. I want you to know I'm here for you. Being that person. And it's like anything, it's a habit. When you practice that habit, it becomes second nature to you. And that's how you become a good person. You have to practice being a good person. It just doesn't happen, But the practice shouldn't be hard, and it should make you feel good.
Yeah. And it's progress, not perfection.
Right.
There's something in staying kind and gentle with yourself and others during that progress, not perfection. And I do also think there's a misnomer. I'm going to say it again, because without one, you don't have the other. It's part of the yin and yang and the balance. You don't starve your bad wolf either, because the bad is also partial, because sometimes what you learned from struggle, that wolf can defend, can protect, can fight when necessary, right? When needed, the fight, flight, or freeze response, right? That you still need the good and the bad. We need that. I think it is foolish to think we can eliminate all of it, and to think one or the other and wanting a force. I'm not saying you're foolish. I apologize. It coming. That's not what I mean. I feel like, thank you. I think you get my point, that it's a balancing of all those things. And that's what we have to learn, is the way, and to hold each other accountable, responsible, being able to say, wait a minute, I think you misstepped there or misspoke. To say, I'm sorry, to challenge and have an open corrective dialogue without throwing out the whole soup, right? Like, I dropped in the end of the carrot with the greens on it. All right. It's a little bitter. You can still eat it, right? Not bad soup because of that.
Right.
And if one fly gets in the soup, you spoon it out. Soup is still okay. You get my point, I think. Yeah. Yeah. What we're doing, we're walking down this path together. And, for what it's worth, I wish you all the best. I'm excited to see where the journey goes with you and anyone that's trying to strive for diversity and inclusion and visibility in our storytelling.
It is definitely not a dirty word.
No.
It is not white genocide. All of the, you hear them all.
I don't mean to disrespect the fear of that, but it is definitely not white genocide. I didn't hear what you said after that because I was so hard laughing in that. What would
I will end on this note, and
okay.
It is my sincere hope that human beings understand. I'm a little disappointed because, we've had thousands and thousands of years of recorded human history. And we should be able to see the pattern by now. So I leave everyone out there with this thought. Even if we were all blue-eyed and blonde, if I want power, and usually the reason why I want power is someone else has something that I want. And I don't think they're going to give it to me freely. So I'm going to take it. But in order to take it, I need help to take it. Because, we have friends. But if I want people to join in my cause to take what you have, I have to give them a reason why they want to hurt you. And how do I do that? Well, I have to demonize you. I have to make you into something hideous, something other, something else. But why am I doing that? It's not that I truly believe you're those things. You have something I want, and I'm going to take it from you. And I'm going to enlist the help of others. And that is the source of power, is being able to manipulate people into your way of doing things and having and being able to point that weapon towards an objective.
Yeah.
And that's how wars start. You talked about scarcity. Well, there we go. These are the origins of it and how people become powerful. We have to learn to recognize when people who want power or whatever they want are encouraging us to demonize our fellow human beings. We have to be smart enough to go, wait a minute, why do you want me to believe that my life, my good life, depends on destroying somebody else's? Why is that? And we have to learn to see when we are being manipulated into someone else's thirst for power. And it might sound grandiose, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but that's where the whole construct of race came about because we wanted to have slaves.
Yeah.
So if we are going to imprison and enslave other human beings, well, I can't say that they're human beings. That would seem wrong. So I got to make them other, I got to make them less than, so that we feel good about what we're doing to our fellow human beings. And every time you see that in all of its forms, whether it's people who want you to hate Jews, want you to hate Blacks, want you to hate queer people, whatever it may be, I'll always ask yourself, why do you want me to hate this person in order for me to be cool, in order for me to be in your club, in order for me to be, because if we can recognize when you are being manipulated and say, no, the only reason why I'm going to ever dislike a human being is not because of any external trait or anything that they didn't have control over. It is because of their actions and what they chose to do with their lives. That will be the basis on whether or not I dislike that person. That and only that, not where they're born, not who they love, not the color of their skin, that's my hope for everybody out there listening or watching, is that we get to that point. And if we get to that point, I guarantee you things will be better. But you're fooling yourself if you think we're there now. George Floyd would not have happened if we were there now. Very simple. I don't want to tell too personal of a story, but I once had the comment, well, my ancestors were slaves, and we got over it. How come you guys just can't get over it? I already went to that diatribe. But just be ready, LGBTQ community, because your time, you will one day start to hear those kind of things too. Well, why can't you just like the whole special rights argument, we have gay people on TV, we have gay people in films. I think we've done enough. Why do we have to keep talking about the issue? It's coming. Just be prepared.
Oh, it's already here, my friend.
Yeah, it's already there.
And my entire life, I've been fighting as an advocate. People wanting from many, many years ago to even an hour before we got on this, there are threats of death and you don't matter. And I'm aware, and we're not alone. You and I are not alone in those parts of our uniqueness, our specialness, but we are also not alone in our uniqueness and our specialness, right? Both aspects, right? Our connected parts, our oneness in the human race. I mean, I do believe that. It's why it's funny that I'm sitting here in my, vomitus of all the rainbow flags, and just people talk about that. Why do you need the rainbow? Like, why do you need pride? Pride is a protest, a riot, a parade, a celebration, a reminder. It's not forgetting history and still working to pave a way forward. It's important. And the chance to see, originally sort of the banner of the queer community, at least in my modern lifetime, was the pink triangle, which was assigned to us during the Holocaust, right? And homosexuals were, wearing a pink triangle and assigned that way, and also devalued in a way that they were eliminated as part of the Holocaust. It's happening. Continues, George Floyd. I mean, it happens to Black people every day. There's no doubt in my mind. And I don't even know what to say about it. The unbelievable tragedy of all of that. And it's unnecessary tragedy, really.
Definitely. But
tragedy.
End on a hopeful note.
Yes, I have hopeful notes. I got hope.
I will say, the struggle is worth it.
Oh, yes.
And,
Agreed.
We heard the same thing, when there was a BET, Black Entertainment Television. Oh, why do they need their own TV station? Well, because we couldn't get jobs on regular TV. That's why. And hope, the one thing that I tell, and I'm going to keep preaching this, is the world is not just going to get better by itself.
Right.
We have to work at it. And we got some work to do, people, but it's not pie in the sky. It's achievable. We can never give in and say, well, it'll never be, racism was always here. It'll always be here. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Granted, it is old. It's here. Or at least it certainly doesn't have to be mainstream like it is right now.
Right.
And we can never accept that as the default position where hate is mainstream.
Yeah.
Because then there's no hope.
And in the world that we're working in, right? Stories on screen, let's say that we're both there. Stories on screen influence, impact, and affect other aspects of change in life. They allow that person to land on the moon, to invent penicillin, to become president, that kind of thing. And we all have choice in this world and we all have power. And I would say, which is one of the huge tenets of the Gilbert Baker Film Festival, is be the change. So you can amplify and celebrate with your actions, with your money, with your dollars, support filmmakers in these worlds, independent filmmakers and diverse filmmakers when they are fundraising, when you want to see the film. Watch it, find it through legal sources, pay for it as you can. You can amplify for free. You know, I don't have money to put towards this campaign. Somebody's fundraising for a film that matters to me. Share with your voice, social media, tell friends on social media, comment and like and share and amplify with unique responses to it. Those are ways where you have power and value to add. And then I would say, and I'm going to say, film festivals and independent films and paying for things at the movies are the way, right? Through ratings, through spending your dollars, through amplifying your voice, through putting your opinions in comment, through rating and reviewing those films and not trashing at the smallest things, looking at the good and the bad and finding the value and understanding that most independent films aren't made at $1 million budget. Most LGBTQA plus independent films are $250,000 budgets or smaller, or these are these people's own money. Like, I'm not sure of the truth of it, like Donna Deitch that made Desert Hearts, which is an incredible beacon of light for me back in the 1980s film with a little bit of, it was one of the first times that I saw any kind of positive or happy portrayal of lesbians or sapphic story on screen. She sold her home to raise that money for that film. We have a documentary in our film festival. The documentarian has been working on the film for 20 years and took 20 years to make the film and is still spending an inordinate amount of resources and times on an impact campaign to get the documentary out there. So supporting these filmmakers, celebrating the good, coming to film festivals, attending film festivals. It's so funny. I'm going to talk about this. I just want to say it on the positive side. People are, oh, thank you, Siri. What can I watch? What can I see? What do I want to watch? People are always asking me that. And there are, you know, not just my film festival, there are a litany of queer film festivals or LGBTQIA plus film festivals around the world. And all of these independent storytellers to connect with, to celebrate, to amplify, to help financially, to help with your voice, and to go watch these stories on screen and discuss them and to get them in our own echo chamber, right? So the queer community need to be seen. We also need to create spaces where there is robust community and dialogue, where allies are welcome, right? Mm-hmm. Allies can find connection and community and then can spread that realization of our community and our connected human race. That is how we're going to get out of our own echo chambers and expand these stories and expand the diversity. And so that's a huge thing, I would say. Go to film festivals, amplify, celebrate as you can. For Gilbert Baker, come to the watch parties, come to the communities, tell people about it. I mean, I care so much about this tenet, and we at Gilbert Baker care. We offer a sliding scale. You know, you can come to the festival for free. Now, granted, we do share revenue from our ticket sales with our filmmakers because we're trying to give back into the community. We have some of the lowest prices for admission into a film festival because as an independent filmmaker, you pay to get into film festivals. Right. We want to give back. So anything you can gives to them, but you can also just give with your voice. And it's ironic. I have all these queer people in my lives that are like, what can I watch? What can I watch? They literally will call me this week while I'm blood, sweat, and tears per month working on this film festival. I'm like, well, I have 29 beautiful films that you could watch. just today, someone's like, I don't even know what to watch. I'm like, have you watched anything at the film festival? I've offered you a free pass. You haven't turned it on. You haven't watched a film. I've got 29 films. And then someone's like, I don't have time. I'm like, it's running 24 hours a day from June 16th through July 31st. And it's not hundreds of hours of films. It's, 20 hours or 15 hours of film, 20 hours of film. It's not that long. And there are stories in here to be told, like something in here and like, oh, I don't like that. It's low budget. I don't want that. It's a fascinating thing. Like any film festival has diversity. It's that stained glass. We have all these stories. Mm-hmm. Open your mind and sit through a story and wonder why that filmmaker told it. Mm-hmm. Why those actors chose to work on that project, why the sound person, why the editor spent hours toiling on that project. There's a message there. There's a story there. Open your mind and your heart. Come at it with an open-minded heart and look at the shared humanity and find what's the message this story is trying to tell us? What is its impact? Even if it's entertainment in horror or romance or drama, there's a reason.
Well,
thank you. Soapbox on that, but
no, I have enjoyed our conversation immensely.
Thank you.
And, I hope people, I hope this touches someone out there. And if you do, and if you're listening to this podcast, I hope you decide to become an activist. And let me explain what I mean by that. Not saying to go out and protest, although if you want to do that, that's perfectly legitimate as well. But what I mean by that is, as Jen was saying, support the stuff that you want to see, support the artists, get involved, even if, I love what you said, even if you don't have any money, but, and you see somebody that, that you believe in their project, share that link, or amongst your social network. There's always something that we can do. No matter big or small, there's always something that we can do. And if we're all pulling and all doing it, we've got to get, hope is not a strategy. We have to be doing positive, affirmative steps to get us to the place we want to be. And you're going to hear me talking more about that. It's part of what, things that I'm planning in the very near future. It's time, we get rolling and get out there, make a difference. Don't just sit back and wait for Hollywood to change, We've been through this cycle before. Hollywood, the music industry, Broadway, they only change when they have to. When, they're forced to change because they see the tide and they very much go along with the tide. So we've got to start making that wave so that, they eventually hop on and join that way. Yeah. And it's very, very doable. But so on that note, I want to thank our guests today. Sure, go ahead.
I'm going to do it. If nothing changes, nothing changes. Hope's not a strategy, but also use your voice for here and voting, right? You can vote with public, I'm going to say it, public, local and federal in any country around the world, participating in your governmental process. And if you cannot and don't want to, then supporting people who do it for you with your voice and your time or money. And the same with the film industry. Like, vote with your ratings, vote with your dollars, vote with your views, use your voice on social media, be part of the change. It is crucial and vital and life-saving right now, especially in all communities, right? You have two humans right here who I hope you've related to listening, and both of our lives are at stake in the current climate of where we live. It's the truth of the matter. All right, you go back to your end of that. I just want to say rock your vote. Rock your vote, rock your vote. support others.
Amen to that.
Yeah, thank you. Can't ask the platform, and I should have gotten it in sooner.
But there we go.
Yeah.
This is why we have these conversations, because I think that they're important conversations to have. So thank you, Jennifer, for sharing your thoughts with us on this podcast. And I do hope that we can have you back at some point. And keep us, again, I want to mention the Gilbert Baker Film Festival. Check it out. I'm going to check it out. There's things that I want to see. But I have a dual motive. So I'm also looking for content to distribute. So film festivals are where I need to go. But you should check it out and support the projects that you think, hey, that's the kind of movies I want to see made. Please support that. So thank you for listening. I'm Gregory Q. Jenkins. You've been listening to the Quintasia podcast, and I will say bye-bye for now.